All right, so Joan, Emily, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm going to kick it off. Welcome, everybody. My name is Joan Oliva, and I'm the Executive Director of the Lake Worth Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Welcome to our Zoom meeting tonight. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on the properties that were purchased by the city and CRA in downtown Lake Worth Beach, and then also introduce our speakers for tonight. So beginning in 2018, the CRA, in partnership with the city of Lake Worth, began purchasing properties in the downtown. Initially, the focus was on L, M, and also on Lake Avenue for the creation of additional parking or a parking garage. However, after the properties on K and First were listed for sale, the idea of a parking garage at K and First made more sense since the city already owns surface lots at 13 and 19 South K. Having said this, no decision has been made to date on whether or not there will be a development of a parking garage in the downtown. That is a decision strictly for the City Commission. The future of the properties on L and M Street changed from a garage site to one that would attract a mixed-use development. This type of development would increase residential units in the downtown where people want to live, work, eat, and shop. The development of a mixed-use project will have a substantial impact on the local economy, increasing jobs, tax revenues, and although any increased taxable value above what is currently on site will go to the CRA, after the CRA sunsets in 2032, all future property taxes do go to the city. The city will also receive non-ad valorem taxes, revenues from utility accounts, and sales tax money. The project, along with other improvements and developments, will increase future investment, increase local spending, and help create a more walkable downtown while welcoming new residents to our city. Although the CRA board chose stateside development and Rosemary properties as the top ranked selection from the request for proposals back in 2020, no agreement has been put in place. No deals have been brokered, and there is no formal site plan to date. This meeting is the first of several public meetings that we are going to host to receive public input. Others will be scheduled, hopefully in person, in the near future. And we hope to develop a plan that makes the city and meets the downtown needs, is financeable, and is a project that a developer can complete. I would now like to introduce Alex Rosemary from Rosemary Properties. He is online to answer questions that have been brought to us via email from the public. Once Alex introduces himself and tells us about his company, we also have John Faust on the line who will be asking questions that were sent via email. Good evening. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Joan. I also want to add Norm Weinstein, who's my partner, Stateside Capital. Norm, go ahead and you can certainly introduce yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Norman Weinstein, and thank you, Alex. I think at this point, Alex, you had planned to do the intro, so why don't you proceed? Why don't you proceed with that?
Sure. Just to kind of give everyone a little bit of background. So my name is Alex Rosemary. I'm the CEO of Rosemary Properties. Rosemary Properties has been in business since 1977. We've been developing real estate in South Florida ever since then, owning and developing real estate. Our roots come from the multifamily background, mostly apartments, but we've also developed self-storage, flex space, industrial, office space, and retail over the last 40 years. Most notably, the latest project we're working on right now is Uptown Boca, which is about 1,000,001 square feet of mixed use in West Boca Raton that incorporates a very similar product in 5-story apartments, in a more suburban setting, of course, and about 180,000 feet of retail, grocery anchored retail. We've done a handful of other projects in South Florida, small, some big, some that are, relatively speaking, this size, the smaller side of apartments. But as far as this RFP goes, we're very proud of what we've been able to put together. It was a very competitive RFP put on by the CRA of Lake Worth. And we were lucky enough to win it. But, because of the fact that we want to move carefully, slowly, and methodically through the process and make sure that everyone has an ability to comment on what we're trying to do for the downtown of Lake Worth Beach. We've taken a pause and, wanted to have this public charrette to be able to answer some questions that everyone might have regarding the development. So Norm, why don't you, my partner is Norm Weinstein. Norm, why don't you talk a little bit about what you've done at Lake Worth Beach and in the past as well?
Sure. So my background is I've been a developer for 45 years, and I've developed a mix of residential, office, industrial, retail. I've built some high-rise condominiums down in South Florida. The most recent project I did in the Lake Worth area was the new Starbucks building on Dixie, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And that was a pretty complicated project for a small project because it involved assembling a number of parcels. Joan helped with that assemblage, and of course going through the process, the approval process, and getting the right to do all of the building, separate the two buildings, bring the urgent care into the mix. I think was really critical. So I've continued to have a vision for the downtown in Lake Worth. I think it's important to bring people to the downtown to create some vibrant enthusiasm for the residents, for the shop owners, the restaurants, the shops, to bring Lake Worth a little more into the 21st century. And I think the element and what we're considering doing will be an adjunct to bringing that enthusiasm down to the downtown of Lake Worth.
John, you want to start in on some of these questions?
Yeah, I was thinking that you had a presentation before that. I'll tell you that, 10 different people asked about parking.
Yeah, well, actually, John, you're right. I do actually have something I could show. That's a good point. I'm kind of learning the format here. So thank you. Let me share my screen with respect to that. So we're going to bring this up real quick. This is a study, an economic study about the downtown project. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's something that we can send out. We will send out after the meeting to everyone involved. You read through it, certainly ask questions to myself or anybody else for that matter. But wanted to go over just some of the, what we feel are going to be the impacts. This was done by a third party that took into account all the data that we gave them regarding the project, the approval, the cost, and other things that are associated with this project. So at a high level, during construction, we believe this project will create 360 jobs. Salary and wages during construction, about 14.1 million. Annualized stabilized operations, about 70 jobs. And understand that the economic is sometimes direct or indirect, the economic impact on a project of this scale. Annual salary and wages during stabilized operations, 2.3 million. Furthermore, I'll move to the next slide. If everyone, make sure you can see that. Construction, the element Lake Worth Beach developed expected to generate approximately the following state of local tax revenue. During construction, $2.31 million, and annualized stable operations, $606,000. Anticipated through property tax revenue and operations from the apartment building and on-site retail space. Anticipated tax revenue, this is basically the slide just walks through the tax revenue generated during construction and goes in a little bit more detail as to that previous slide. So again, pretty self-explanatory. I can go into these, detailed line by line, but sales tax revenue, 105,000, impact fees, 1.236. I want to stop on that for 1 second because it does have a huge impact. A lot of people ask about the public good or what are we doing. One of the things that I think gets missed in these developments is the impact fees that a development like this generates for a municipality. And these impact fees go to a number of things: roadway improvements, infrastructure, utilities, underground, electricity, all these types of things that are impactful to a development. By a development, we as developers are required to pay a fee to the county that is spread out to accommodate the impact of that project on a given area. So on this particular project, it's estimated that our impact will be about $1.2 million of impact fees to accommodate some of those impacts this project will create. Building fees paid to Lake Worth Beach building permit fees of $185,000, county sales tax $2,700, construction permit fees $256,000 also paid to Lake Worth Beach, water and sewer capacity charge of $204,000, and planning and development fees of $16,550. So, it's important that we walk through this, that there is a revenue generated by this project that's paid to the county and to the city that, certainly helps pay some of the bills and helps maintain the lifestyle for the residents of Lake Worth Beach. This is basically just a stabilized operations impact study, direct effect of industry sales, 858,000, indirect effect of 389,000, and induced effect of 7 million. So basically what this slide basically talks about is the estimated that the on-site retail building operations spending of on-site residents of Element Lake Worth Beach will generate approximately 70 full-time jobs with a wide range of employment types upon reaching stabilized operations. It just kind of breaks down that figure and gives more clarity as to how the consultant is arriving at that number. So we talk about what the benefits are to the project, from the project on the downtown of Lake Worth Beach. We are looking to bring 125 new households to Lake Worth Beach. On-site residents of the new development are expected to spend approximately $1.1 million annually at retail, eating, and drinking establishments. I think it's important, and one of the things that we really want to cover in this slide presentation, in this presentation tonight, is that a project like this, we're hoping that it helps to regenerate the businesses of downtown. A lot of the businesses that we that are in the downtown right now are struggling. Obviously, they're struggling because of of COVID, but they've been struggling for a while. So what we're hoping to do is bring it, is to help to improve the community with new residents that will eat, that will live, that will shop, that will walk to the downtown establishments, and help to keep them alive and also help to improve them. So we'll get into more questions about that later this evening. Environmental sustainability. Almost all of our projects are built with a certified Florida Green Building Code requirement. That requirement requires us, and it's licensed by the state of Florida, requires us to incorporate certain things into our project that allow us to create more of an environmentally sustainable building, such as low E impact resistant windows, solar sensitive TPO roofing, Energy Star appliances, energy efficient LED lighting, things of that nature. So this will be a Florida Green Building Council project. Community amenities, which is something that we take a lot of care and we do a lot of research on and really spend a lot of time articulating in our office. There'll be a live, work, lifestyle with integrated on-site offices for residents, 24-hour professional management, pet-friendly amenities, including dog care facilities and walking areas, ground floor pool, outdoor grilling and resident areas, health and wellness facilities, and an overall managed Wi-Fi and app-centric unit entry points. So what we're trying to do here is create a lifestyle that meets the need of today's customer. A lot of our customers, they don't want to leave their units. They don't want to leave their building. A lot of them are working from home now or working within the amenities. So what we're trying to do is create a very convenient lifestyle where our residents will be able to stay and take advantage of all the community features and the retail in the area without having to get in their car and driving out of the downtown. So, I think more important now than ever is the need for convenient lifestyle and the idea that people can live, work, and shop within just feet of their home. So commercial amenities, as you've seen in the RFP, 2,500 to 4,000 square feet of ground floor retail space. This space will front Lake Avenue, an activated street front architecture. One of the things that we've been talking about as we've been going through this project is the Lucerne and how people are really unhappy with the way Lucerne looks. You'll see a couple of conceptual renderings that we've put together as part of this package. Some of them are already incorporated here. I can bring up some more if need be during the presentation. But I will tell you that we are not the Lucerne. I know that people have an affinity towards architecture. I myself do too. What we're trying to do is activate the street front with retail, activate it with a live component that has stoops and very inviting ground floor residences. Also, our design incorporates basically hiding the garage. So you're not looking at the garage from lake or one of the other, or the residential end of the project. So we've taken great care in site planning a project that creates a welcoming step back architecture and site plan. Also a ground floor pool that helps to create a little bit more of that buffering and setback with our neighboring properties. And then our architecture, as you look up the building, will have more windows, we'll have more articulation, more ins and outs, more interest. Also, if you can see, I'll actually slide forward here. One of the renderings is on this package here. But this is this is our northeast corner of our building. And what we're trying to do is create glass and activating the street front. You can see some of our retail on the bottom, on the ground floor, and some architectural articulation as you move, look back towards the rear of the building. So it's very, for us, we want to create something that's very inviting. Apartment buildings are very customer centric. So you always have to look your best every day to attract the right customer. So, and it's important for us to articulate through architecture and make sure that we're creating something that's fresh, that's new, that's urban. Understand that there's a lot of there's a lot of talk about the historical nature of Lake Worth Beach. We're very open to working through that, that concept or that idea of the historical elements of Lake Worth Beach. Whether that's, murals or artistic elements on corners or, unique signage. We're very open to that. I mean, this is by no means set in stone. I mean, there's only so much we can do as developers to create a development that meets the market from a cost perspective, but also an architecture's perspective. But, as far as architecture goes, we're not looking to skate around any type of, we're just going to slap something up and, hope everyone likes it. For us, we are owners of the property. We've been in South Florida for 40 plus years. We're going to be in South Florida for 40 plus more. This is a deal that will be built with our own dollars, not New York Capital or anybody else's outside equity. So for us, this is a long-term ownership play for us. So making sure it looks nice and it's something that the city of Lake Worth Beach can be proud of is very, very important for us. Norm and I take great great pride in our properties and how we develop them. I think that architecture is obviously always the eye of the beholder, but I absolutely love what Norm did in the downtown of Lake Worth Beach. It certainly helped to improve that block, and we hope to do the same here. I know there's a lot of questions about scaling and height, and certainly we're open to talking about all of it. There's only so much we can do as developers, but this platform and moving through these public hearings, it's very important that we continue to keep an open dialogue and an open mind as to how we facilitate element. Actually, I think that's it. That's the end of my presentation. So without further ado, John, let's roll through the questions.
Okay, so overwhelmingly, people asked about parking and both the parking for the residents and the tenants, parking if street parking is in the plan, if there's public parking in the plan. So just anything and everything parking, and I think that should check off a ton of entries on questions.
Right. Okay. Well, let me answer that, because you're right. There are a ton of questions on that. And I just so for parking, we are planning a 4-story parking garage. And again, I have some of my associates here. Some of these questions are pretty complicated, so I don't know. I don't have all the specific answers. So if you see me asking some questions, some of my associates have the in-depth answers to all of these, hopefully. So 194 spaces were required. We're providing 210 spaces as part of the plan, which 15 spaces will be provided to the public, and the other remaining spaces, approximately 195 spaces will be for the residents of Element, the project.
All right. What are you proposing for building heights?
So building heights, obviously element itself is 5 stories. The parking garage is 4. We don't expect, now we haven't completed the design of element, the building itself, but we're expecting it to fall within the code. A code allowance allows us to go up to 56 feet. We'll probably fall somewhere between 50 and 55 feet of total height on the building itself, depending on some of the articulation on the top floor. We're not planning on any type of rooftop, additional rooftop areas. Just, we want to keep it below that allowable height of 50, about 50 to 55 feet.
Okay. Green space is an amenity, not only for the town, but for those who choose to live in the condo/apartments. Please describe outdoor amenities, and also if they'll be open to the public or just the residents on site. Describe size and type of canopy trees, other landscaping foliage.
Right, and I'll answer some of these. A lot of these have not reached that design phase. That's a very detailed question as far as, canopy size and whatnot. We typically get that later in development after site plan approval and whatnot. But to answer the direct question about amenity spaces, we will have a host of amenity spaces, but unfortunately, the way these projects work, given the insurance policies that we're required to have and some of the code related items, we could not open these up to the public. It would not only create a safety hazard for our residents, but also for the public in general. So what we're, so as part of that, the amenities that we are providing to the complex will be only open to the residents of the complex.
All right. Let's see, I'm skipping the ones that you kind of answered in your presentation. Will you consider using art as a final way of finding or an entrance opportunity?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'll say that, Norm probably more than I am is, has a huge affinity. I can see the art piece in his back, right behind his, sitting in his office right there. Exactly.
That's a Robert Motherwell, for those of you who like art.
So no, yeah, we absolutely are big believers in using art and creativeness, creativity into our projects. So absolutely want to try to create as many of those opportunities as possible to make this a unique project. Again, art is in the eye of the beholder. But we think that last 5 to 10% of detail with respect to art, signage, some of these unique architectural elements truly separate good projects from great ones. And our goal on every deal is to create a great project and to make sure that it is special and unique, and also in some ways is timeless. That's a very hard thing to attain in projects, but trying to create something that is unique and timeless. Being very intentional and making sure that we keep the residents of Lake Worth Beach proud and continue to help to further the idea of a quaint town that doesn't, I would say, not trying to over improve a building or do something that would not meet the fabric of the downtown.
The intended use as rental units versus condos. Do you have a mix or a feeling on how that's falling together?
That's a great question. So, and I'm glad someone asked that, because I know there's been some discussion, about rentals versus condos and even hotels. And I want to actually answer that openly. So Lucerne is condos. We are going to be apartments, exclusively apartments for rent. And those leases will run anywhere from 7 months all the way up to 14 to 15 months. We expect a whole host of different types of residents living there, from people that are retiring to younger people with pets, people with families. We are also offering, and I'll answer one of the other questions, we're offering 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom units, to accommodate the different lifestyles and family sizes within the community. The way we look at rentals, which is really important to understand, is that what we're seeing going on in the industry right now is there's a lot of people moving to South Florida. Everything you're reading in the paper as far as people moving from California, Chicago, New York, it's true. Everyone is coming down to South Florida for whatever reason, whether it be taxes, whether it be COVID, whatever it might be, they're moving to South Florida. A lot of these residents, they're moving here without a decision made or the timing to be able to go buy a residence, to close on a mortgage, or to really understand where they want to live. So for us, what we're seeing is a huge pent-up demand for rentals, housing in general, but specifically rentals. And these are typically first-time home buyers that have not figured out where they want to live. So for us, what we're hoping to provide for the downtown of Lake Worth Beach is that, that place where people can rent for a year and decide ultimately if they want to buy a home in Lake Worth Beach and be a first-time home buyer. A lot of people have commented, well, the people driving to Lucerne and they don't ever get out and walk, and they're only here for 6 months out of the year. Typically what happens with rentals is people live there the entire year. They're not snowbirds. They're full-time residents that partake in the community. They get out of their house. They go eat out. They go eat outdoors or in the local restaurants. They get up in the morning. They use the local coffee shops, the fitness areas, the wellness boutiques that are in the area, nail salons, hair salons. So from a lifestyle standpoint, what we're really proud of is that our communities typically help to, our projects typically help to further a community with full-time permanent residents. And that goes to the same thing with the hotel. I know that the Gulfstream is about to start their development process. And I know that there's a lot of residents that are very, very proud of the Gulfstream. I think that from the standpoint of this property, there's been some discussion of maybe this should be a hotel or not. My personal opinion, and I think some of the opinions I've heard from other people, is that the last thing the Gulfstream wants is for another hotel to be approved in the downtown that would be a competitive set for the Gulfstream. And second of all, one hotel is great, but when you start to populate your downtown with hotels, you don't have that long-term community resident living in the area that we think is beneficial to creating a more stabilized, long-term, vibrant community.
All right. Next one is price point and what you consider affordable. Of course, the price points change dramatically on a weekly basis just
Right.
in the last 2 months. So I don't know if you can answer that, but did you have a feel for price point?
Yeah, so I do. So one of the questions that kept coming up is this workforce housing. Was it going to be a workforce housing component to this? So the price points for our rentals will fall, so on a greater, I'm going to digress a little bit. So the Palm Beach County has a workforce housing program that is in place currently. And in looking at Lake Worth Beach and doing our market studies as to what those price points would be for our apartments, in fact, what's going on in the marketplace is that every market has an absolute rent. It's the maximum rent or typical rent you can charge in a community. The absolute rent for this area of Lake Worth Beach falls actually in tiers 1 and 2 of the Palm Beach County Housing Code. And so, we're not going to be restricted under the workforce code of Palm Beach County, but we will fall within the parameters of the workforce housing code of Palm Beach County as far as absolute rent goes. So, all I can say is if someone asks me, is this affordable housing? It will certainly fall within the parameters of the workforce housing code that's designed by Palm Beach County. But it will be a market rate product. It will not be restricted as workforce housing, but it will fall within those parameters. So is it affordable? I mean, from our standpoint, it's very affordable compared to what's going on in downtown, West Palm Beach, or what's going on in Delray, certainly of a much lower rent set than what you're seeing in those markets.
Can you speak of the ground floor, like retail parking, and if they're tenants or owners or?
The ground floor, yeah. So the ground floor will have a couple of uses. Obviously, you'll have the entrance to our parking garage off one of the side streets. So it's, but it's a very small entrance point. You're going to have retail on the ground floor, retail on lake. And then you're going to also have, residents that are going to be opening their doors up to the surrounding streets. So you'll have a mix of residential on the first floor. Our pool will be on the first floor, along with some ancillary amenities, maybe a little bit of a small dog walking area, and then retail that fronts lake on the northeast corner.
Hold on. Skipping over the ones that are redundant, sorry. Can you enumerate the sustainability elements in your proposal?
It's a very complicated question. I'm not trying to dodge the question, of course. The sustainability, but all I can tell you at this point is that we are going to be taking advantage of the sustainability bonuses. Certainly we want to absolutely address those openly. But in order to get to the density that is allowed, the one thing I would want to just point out to everybody on the call is that we are not looking to change the comp plan or amend the code to get to a density that we're looking for in this project of 125 units. But we are going to be taking advantage of the sustainable bonuses that are allowable by the project and within the code of Lake Worth Beach, to get to the 125 dwelling units that we're looking to get to. So, it's when you get into that technicality, the Lake Worth Beach code is very complicated. We have a land use attorney on board just for that fact of just interpreting the code. We've been working very closely with the city of Lake Worth Beach, with the CRA, and with the city staff on understanding what that is. And we fall within the allowances of that code, taking advantage of those sustainability bonuses. But certainly happy as we go through this process. It's going to be an very open, public process. All of those will be articulated through the process, through these public hearings.
All right. Would you consider creating multiple contiguous structures of varying heights and architectural styling, more in keeping with the fabric and feel of the existing neighborhood you're trying to replace?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly are open to anything. The problem is the size of the parcel that we're dealing with here. It doesn't allow for a lot of that vertical articulation as opposed to maybe, let's say, a 10-acre parcel or something where you have more space to spread out. This is a very tight parcel. So getting that differentiation in height would be difficult. What we are doing, though, is we are complying with the setback requirements that are in place with the city of Lake, with the downtown within the zoning code. And we are complying with the setbacks on the ground floor with respect to the site plan. We are also complying with some of the step back requirements that are required by the city of Lake Worth Beach within the architecture.
Right, and some of these have been answered, but proposed elevations. What's your time frame to update and share elevations?
That's probably, John, that's probably the most elusive question or comment that we've gotten so far. I will tell you carefully, Norm and I spent a lot of time in trying to articulate an elevation that we liked. I'm not sure if everyone's going to always like it. I don't like a lot of architecture that's being built right now myself. Unfortunately, I don't know where we go with that. I mean, we're certainly open to the idea of modifying the architecture to meet the fabric of the community. There's this, more of a historical concept that has been thrown around a lot, and we're trying to figure out really what that looks like or what that means. So with respect to the architecture, we don't have a plan yet in order to, represent something. But we can certainly continue the public dialogue to get more input as to what the public's looking for. We'll do everything we can within the parameters of our construction budget and within the development plan and within the confines of the code of Lake Worth Beach to bring something forward that people can be proud of, knowing that we can't make everybody happy.
Are there any code changes or text amendments proposed as part of this project?
No.
Variance or waivers from the LDR being sought?
No.
How do you intend to attract retail tenants? Do you have tenants already?
We don't have tenants already. The retail is not sizable enough to start a pre-marketing campaign on that. That's one of those things where, we feel confident given the development plan that we've got that we'll be able to put someone in there that makes sense. From us, it's, from the standpoint of what we're trying to do from a retail component, we'll just have to see how the market plays out as we move through development, but that decision's years off. We typically wouldn't start marketing the retail space until, at this small of a retail location, 4,500 square feet, you don't really start that process until you're at least breaking ground and you have a little bit more clarity as to when you can open those retailers up for business. But we have a whole list of ideas for it that would not only be compatible with the project, but also with the downtown coffee shops, some type of live work component where you have maybe some open office executive type uses in there. The world has changed so dramatically that retail is changing. I will tell you that we would certainly do something that's internet resistant, whether it be, as a restaurant, type food use or something else that, further the community. So, but nothing at this time.
All right. I'm looking at some extremely focused questions, like how many 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, how many elevators, that kind of stuff. And I don't know that if that's worth you actually saying.
I can get into that. Actually, I have some of that listed here. If you guys have, I know that question came up, so right there. Let me go back to something real quick. I want to just mention something. Someone asked a question. You asked a question, John, previously about the rents.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure I answer that. So, right now what we're looking at is studios starting at about $1,250 a month. 1 bedroom starting at about $1,575 to $1,600 a month, and 2 bedrooms starting at about $1,850 to $1,900 a month. As you pointed out, the market's changing so rapidly, but that's kind of the pricing set that we're looking at with respect to the project. We actually have 10 studios planned, 62 1-1s, and 42 2-2s. And I think we've got 6 3-3s. That might not add up. We're always changing the unit mix here. So, but generally speaking, that's the unit mix. It might change one more time, but that's about it. So the one thing that I want to keep note is we are providing studio units to the market. And then we also are providing 3-bedroom, 2-bath units to the market too, which was a late change. We felt like the market needed both of them and would be well received by, by the community.
I have a couple, I don't know if they're questions or statements about adding jobs to downtown. Stores and restaurants need more customers. But I know that was covered in one of the earlier slides.
Yeah.
I'm kind of running out of things to ask you here.
No, I mean, listen, I would say that, the one thing that, I can answer that. I think that's an important concept that people are asking about is, are you going to bring jobs? Is it going to help the neighborhood? What's going to happen? What's the impact of this project on the neighborhood? I'll tell you that, I believe as a developer, you have to believe in the stuff that you do. I can honestly tell you that we believe this is the right product for the right place. We truly believe in the projects that we build. I'd ask anybody in this call to go to Uptown Boca Raton and take a look at what we've done there. Go to Norm's Shopping Center in the downtown and, look at the quality of what we try to develop. We try to do the right project for the right place. When you look at the compatible uses or what you can do on this parcel, yes, you can do townhouses. I know that that's out there and open. I don't think from an economic standpoint, given the situation the CRA is facing, and given how much the property was paid for the property, that would be accretive to what the goal is for the, for the CRA or for more specifically the city of Lake Worth Beach. From a yield standpoint on penny sack sales dollars, this is probably the most beneficial from the city standpoint financially. But aside from that, from a use standpoint, I will tell you that in my world, no one's building office buildings today. You're not going to put a self-storage deal downtown. You're not going to put an industrial deal downtown. We can argue the idea of putting a hotel downtown, whether it's good for the fabric of the community, whether people, want that in their backyards. I could give you reasons, and you could talk to a lot of people in Lake Worth Beach, and in Delray, and how the influx of hotels have changed the dynamic of their downtown, not for the better. You have people coming in for 1 night, 2 nights. A lot of the people aren't paying much for room rates. They're, the lower end of the customer chain that comes in, they use the bars, they, have a late night and they leave the next day. And so what we're looking to do is add a long-term resident that's quality to the downtown and helps to begin to create that better sense of community and truly helps to reinvigorate the businesses of the downtown. So I'll answer any question that anyone has about why apartments and is it good or bad for the community. I understand the concerns and the distaste for the Lucerne. I've heard it enough already. And it's, certainly something that's out there and I get it, but that's, that was done in a different day, by a different developer. And, all I can say is that, we're going to do our very best to provide a project that everyone can be proud
Taxable value when this is complete?
So that's up to Palm Beach County to come up with that number. But you know, the general overall planned cost for the development is give or take $30 million. And then what happens is that typically it's 80% of the value. So we believe the taxable value will fall somewhere at the low end at 24 million. And as the project stabilizes and time moves on, that number will rise. So start with 24 million, and as you know, and then that number will increase annually. I believe the cap on commercial properties is 10%. Now, if we ever decide to sell it in the future, that entire number is refigured and it's 80% of the sale value. So some people would say that they hope we sell it. I'd say I hope we don't, but you know, certainly that gives the county the opportunity to reassess the property at a higher rate.
I'm pretty much out of questions, so I'm guessing the prior public input and the future public input, and if you or the CRA could give a quick timeline and how the components fit together for, you know, like when there are 1, 2, or 3 elevations to share, and you know, when you get closer to a permit start date and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's really uncharted right now. We don't have any set time frame right now with respect to what's going on moving forward. I'd say that you know, we're gonna you know, talk after this call and get some feedback from the politicians, and you know, hopefully, you know, if we feel comfortable that this is going to be well received, then you know, we will you know, we'll move forward. But it's really going to come down to, you know, the general sentiment of, you know, these meetings and the meetings with the politicians, you know, to get a comfort level for us to move forward. We don't want to bring something to the city of Lake Worth Beach that's not something that a lot of people can be proud of. The majority of people can be proud of. You know, we don't want to do anything that upsets, you know, a whole bunch of neighbors, especially in the Jewel. You know, as this moves forward, you know, we will, you know, whether it be us, the city, the CRA, will publish a timeline as far as the approvals, the public hearings, and we will certainly be more than open to doing some type of public charrette or open forum with respect to the elevations of the project as we get them more developed.
All right, Joan.
Let me take her off mute. Hang on one second. I think I'm controlling. Let me see if I can find her. There's a whole bunch of people here. Hang on one second. Huh.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. In respect to public meetings, we've heard a lot specifically from the public that they would like some kind of charrette and led by somebody other than the CRA or the city. And we're certainly amenable to doing that. I think, you know, tonight was just kind of a first taste of what, you know, potentially this development could give to the downtown, and try to get some reaction from that and see if, you know, the developer and the city would like to move forward on it. Again, we don't have any, you know, there's nothing that's been signed and nothing that's been promised. This is just really an opportunity for the public to kind of let us know what they would like to see as far as design and as far as the development itself is contained. But you know, hoping that this goes well, I think our next opportunity for public input would be some kind of charrette or workshop that we would host. I'm thinking maybe here at the Hatch. I think there's enough room for people to stay, you know, 6 feet apart with masks on, so we could get a little bit more into the details. I think once people see more of the renderings and see how, especially in the back of the development, it steps down and there's kind of porches and there's little yards for people to have, I think, you know, maybe what's in your mind is not exactly what, you know, what has been planned. So before the CRA moves forward with any kind of development agreement, we want to make sure that, you know, the city is on board with this, and for the city to be on board with it, we understand that the neighborhood has to be on board with it. So we'll talk after this, and more than likely we'll schedule another meeting, and hopefully it will be in person, and it will be rather quickly, because we've been kind of holding off on doing this meeting for a while just because of a lot of other things that were going on, but we certainly want to not hold up this project anymore if it is something that the city would like to move forward on.
Yeah, and I just want to add to it, just as a closing from our side, and Norm certainly, want to give you a chance to speak and for the closing arguments here, but, this is an ongoing conversation. This is an ongoing dialogue with respect to us, and the constituents of the city, the public, and we will make ourselves available through these, these forums. I hear a lot of great things about the Gulf Stream and how that was that was approved and how it went through the process. We want people, when we finish this, we know we're not going to make everybody happy. It's very hard to make everybody happy no matter what you do in life. I'm sure you, as we all know. So, but we want to keep that dialogue going and do the best we can to make the most people happy. And that when this finally does come to fruition, if it does come to fruition, that everyone is proud and that at least they can say that we ran a very open, public, and honest process. That, that's really important for any great development, is just an open and honest process where at least everyone knows what's happening. This doesn't come to as a surprise to anybody.
Good point.
My younger daughter is 26 years old. She graduated from law school last year. She took the Florida bar recently and passed. And I was speaking with her the other night at dinner, and she was saying to me that there's a buzz among her friends. She grew up in South Florida. She went to St. Andrews, then went to the University of Miami. And she said, there's a buzz about Lake Worth. Lake Worth is now the object of a lot of young professionals looking for an affordable lifestyle in a downtown setting. They don't want to live in Delray, too hectic, too much going on. They don't want to live in West Palm Beach, not really comfortable with it, but they really are seeing Lake Worth as an opportunity for them to create a home for themselves. But in order to create a home for themselves, they need new housing. They're not going to move into a 40 or 50-year-old renovated house. They want something new. They want something that's clean. They want something that's creating some excitement. And they're willing to wait for the retail, the businesses to sort of come into their own. I think this is very important. This is the beginning of an evolution for Lake Worth. It's an opportunity for Lake Worth to grab these young professionals and bring them to the downtown, which is really exactly what Lake Worth needs to begin to integrate the young, the old, the middle, and create the kind of community that I think everyone would like to see. And that's I thought it was very refreshing to hear my daughter say that.
All right, I think we're done here till we have our next step ready to share with the neighbors. Anything else to add?
Yeah, if I could just add that we will be putting all of the questions that we received, as well as this presentation, up online as soon as we possibly can.
All right, thank you, neighbors. Saw
Yes,
some
thank
thumbs
you.
up there. Thank you. All right, shut this down. Let's go eat dinner.
Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you very much.